Thank you very much. All right, welcome everybody. My name is Dan McGlone. I work for a software company in Philly. I'm a GIS analyst, and this is, I think, a common problem for a lot of people, a lot of academics and a lot of people who are just starting out with GIS. They know OpenStreetMap exists. They know that there's lots of data there, but they're not quite sure how to get data out of OpenStreetMap and actually use it. There are a lot of parts of the world where it's just hard to get data. And OpenStreetMap is a open source, freely available database of all kinds of data, and so it can be a really good resource for data. I do have a link on here. This is a presentation that has a lot of links to just various tools to get data from OpenStreetMap, and so the link is there. I know some people have Wi-Fi, so feel free to follow along if you're able to do so. A little bit about OpenStreetMap, if you're not familiar with it. As I said before, it is basically a Wikipedia of mapping data. So it's a freely available database of points, lines, polygons around the entire world. It has anyone can contribute to it and provide information and provide data and update it. Contains everything from not just street data, so rivers, buildings, all kinds of things you can imagine. So first off, like an overview of type of file format. So OpenStreetMap has its own data format, which I know for a lot of GIS analysts, you're probably like, oh great, more data formats I have to know. And I'm going to talk about those really quickly, but the really nice thing about this is that it uses XML. So there's the .osm is the basic file format or data format for OpenStreetMap data. And it's basically XML that describes the data. So XML is good because it is a system of tags and attributes, so you can easily filter through the data. And that's really great because obviously OpenStreetMap is a vast amount of data with lots of different types of data, and so being able to filter it easily is really good. So the .osm is the basic file format. There's the .pbf. It's just the compressed version. Obviously, OpenStreetMap is huge. The data can get really large, and so a .pbf is just basically the compressed one. The really good news is that you don't really even need to worry about what a .osm file is because QGIS has built-in support for both file formats. So you can actually just take a .osm file and open it up right in QGIS if you're using that. So let's talk about the various different ways you can use OpenStreetMap data or get OpenStreetMap data out of OpenStreetMap. So perhaps the most simple way is right in the browser. So if you're on OpenStreetMap.org and you're logged in, you can actually export data using a latitude longitude bounding box, and you can move that around right in the browser. And there's an export button to export that out as a .osm or .pbf file. So this is really nice. It's very convenient if you're just scanning around and browsing OpenStreetMap and you have an idea of an area that you want to get data for. This will download everything in that area, so you want to be careful that you don't have a really large area or an area with a lot of data because that file will get really large. It will tell you, it will not let you download anything over a certain size. I'm not quite sure what that limit is, but it won't let you download over a certain size if it's too much. So if you know you need a lot of data, there are two really good resources. One is Geo Fabric, and again, these are links. Unfortunately, I can't click on them, but so Geo Fabric is they're a software company located in Germany, and they created this website that allows you to download extracts of OSM data by continent, so you can download the entire OSM extract for Europe or Africa or Asia or anything like that, and that's updated weekly. And then there's also Planet OSM, another website that allows you to download the entire database, and that is updated weekly as well. These are really great if you need a ton of data, but there are no filtering options, so when you use these resources, you're going to get everything. Other really good sources for if you need a smaller geographic area. So my favorite is definitely MapZen's Metro Extracts. They've done so much great work. So Metro Extracts, there are hundreds of cities and metropolitan areas. These are refreshed every week with the latest updated data. And you can download them in many different file formats. So you can download them as a shapefile, so you don't even need to worry about the OpenStreetMap file formats. BBBike.org is kind of a funny name, but they are another software company that built a export tool that allows you to filter on various cities or metropolitan areas and download. You can download shapefiles. You can even download a .svg there. There's also the hot OSM export tool. I'll talk about this at the end, but the Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team has done some really good work, and they have a really easy to use interactive map viewer that allows you to download data. It's only available in the countries that HOT has worked in the past.
So this is just a screenshot of the Metro extracts page from MapZen. So you essentially, so it's showing you the bounding box of the area, of the Metro area that they have automatically created that extract for. And so you just download it right on the right. You can download it in a bunch of different file formats, shapefile, OSM, PBF, GeoJSON, all that kind of stuff. They also created a custom, recently, a custom tool, so you can actually create a custom extract of anywhere else. So similar in the sense that you'll search for a city or region and you'll create that bounding box and then you'll get the extract. You have to sign up for a developer account with MapZen, but that's really simple. And I think it says that you get it within a week. I haven't actually used this is pretty new, but this is a really good tool if you know you need something that's not readily available. So for QGIS, if you're working in the QGIS open source software package, there's two plugins. The QuickOSM plugin is really great. It's my favorite for getting OpenStreetMap data. You can construct custom queries and filter data based on the XML tags, which is really nice. And it's also based on a bounding box or a shapefile. So if you have like a shapefile of a city you're working in, you can download the data just for the area within that shapefile. It also creates a reusable XML query that you can use later on to download that data again if you want to. There's also OSM Downloader, and you can interactively select the bounding box or define coordinates. It adds all the data right to the canvas for you. In QGIS, there aren't any filter options for that. This is like a quick little GIF of using the QuickOSM tool. So it's pretty simple. It's just a GUI for downloading, and you select the attribute of the type of data that you want. I can show the query, actually show the XML query to get the data, run the query, get the data. So this is getting all the bike lanes and I think bike share stations in Philadelphia. And you can see it only takes a matter of seconds. It's almost done. And then it adds that all to the map right there for you. And so it's already in your layer toolbox there, and you can do whatever you want with that data. So it's really great, really easy. The QGIS vector menu has built-in support for getting OSM data as well. It's a little clunky, it doesn't always quite work right, but you can, again, pick a bounding box, a latitude, longitude bounding box, or you can select it by a different layer that you have. There's also the ArcGIS Editor for OSM, so if you're using ArcGIS software, it's really great. It can load the data from OSM. It stores it in a geodatabase, so you do need to be familiar with how geodatabases work. You can update the data, do network analysis on it, anything that you can do in ArcGIS you can do with that data, and you can even update it and post the changes back to OSM. Here's a screenshot of just the whole kitchen sink of this toolbox. There's really a million things you can do with it. I haven't really played around with many of these, but that's there if you're using ArcGIS Desktop. For people that use PostGIS, there's OSM to PG-SQL. It's a command line tool for importing OSM into PostGIS. And then there's also I have a link here to a guide that walks you through that. It's really simple, especially if you're a beginner at PostGIS. This is a really good guide to understanding how that works. ImpOSM, I haven't used this, but this is an more advanced tool to get data into PostGIS, into a PostGIS database. It can create databases based on diffs, so based on differences in the data over time, which is really convenient for some people. I can't not talk about, obviously there's, although OpenStreetMap is open source, there is a license involved. Basically, the gist of it is that you're free to copy, distribute, transmit, and adapt the data, but you do have to credit OpenStreetMap and its contributors, and you can't add data from proprietary sources and put it into your map without permission. That's like a really, really quick summary, but if you want to know more about that, there's a link here, and you should read that. Obviously, you should contribute to this. I've talked about how to get data out, but you should definitely contribute to it. If you're interested in learning more, learnosm.org is a really good resource. And there's also the Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team, which has done really good work, especially after Hurricane Matthew recently hit. You can go on and you can volunteer and select an area and contribute data, digitize after natural disasters. So that's a really good thing to do. So overall, if you're using QGIS, definitely QuickOSM tool is my favorite. Just for getting data, I think that MapZen's Metro extracts are really awesome. And then special shout out Saturday, Vanessa, who's one of the co-hosts here, has a Mapping for Change workshop to use OSM. So if you're interested in learning more about OpenStreetMap, you should definitely go to that on Saturday. That's pretty much it for me. I do want to mention that my company, Azavia, is hiring for a project manager for one of our software teams, a GIS project manager. So if you're interested, go to azavia.com or get in touch with me after this.
right, that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Questions? Hi, thank you. I'm just wondering if any of those tools you talked about, or do you know of a tool in which you can filter information and then export it by a hashtag, say that was used in a mapathon?
I would think so. I mean, if it's available, if it's a tag in the attribute, I think you could be able to do that. I have not done that before, but that'd be a really interesting thing to do. I imagine you could, if it was a tag in the attribute, you'd be able to construct like an XML query in QuickOSM and be able to do that. Yeah, but I haven't actually done it, so I'm not totally sure.
So once you get it out of the mapping environment and you bring it into Arc or QGIS, what sort of attribution do the files have?
That's a good question. They don't really have any attribution, so that's, when you're making the map, you have to, you should definitely put that it was contributed, that you should definitely make a reference to OpenStreetMap on your final product, whether it's a PDF or a web map or anything like that. The attribution won't really be in the shapefile. There won't really be any metadata there, so yeah, definitely want to give attribution to OpenStreetMap when you make your final product, whether it's a PDF or whatever.
Hi. So I remember reading something about the copyright for OpenStreetMap, that if you use their data, you have to release that data as open source as well. Is that the case, or is that still the case?
If you use their data, you have to release it as open source?
As open source, yeah.
I guess I'm not totally sure. I think if you use the data and you create a product from it, you don't necessarily have to, but I am not the right person to answer that question. There's a lot of tricky stuff around the copyright around OpenStreetMap. So if you're creating a product from it, there are companies out there, there are private companies that do create products from OpenStreetMap, and I know that there's been some criticism and controversy around them creating products and then not contributing it back. Whether that's right or wrong, I'm not totally sure, but I think that generally the idea is you would want to contribute back and want to give them attribution when appropriate.
Hey, I just wanted to flag quick for the person that asked about tracking hashtags. I actually have a talk on Friday about doing just that with OSM. But also I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about overpass turbo? And
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
how do you feel about overpass turbo and using that?
I haven't used it. I know that those are both APIs, right? But I haven't used either of those. We have some projects at Xavier that have used those in the past to use OpenStreetMap data, but I haven't personally used those. Those are good options if you're looking for APIs, I think.
Cool. Thanks, Dan.
All right, thank you.